The two worlds that were one world. On Unus Mundus. A philosopher had spent his life arguing for two worlds. There was, he said, the world of the mind. There was, he said, the world of matter. The two were utterly distinct. The mind could not, in any direct way, touch matter. Matter could not, in any direct way, touch the mind. They ran in parallel, like two trains on two tracks, never meeting. The puzzles of his philosophy, and they were many, all came from his attempt to explain how, in our daily experience, the two worlds seemed nonetheless to communicate. He had written 6 books on this question. His books were widely read. They were taught in 3 universities. He had, in his 60s, become the most respected philosopher of his country. Younger philosophers wrote essays in his style. He had been knighted by his king for services to thought. He had a daughter. His daughter, from a very early age, had disagreed with him. She had not been a philosopher. She had been, in her adulthood, a midwife. She had attended to the births of perhaps 2,000 children in her career in the small province where she had settled. She had not gone to university. She had read her father's books when she had been young and had told him at 15 that he was wrong. "How am I wrong?" he had said kindly, as if humoring a small girl. "There is one world." "Then how do you explain?" "I do not explain. I am a midwife. I am at the births. I see in the moment of birth what you are talking about. The child comes out. The child is matter. The child cries. The cry is mind. The matter and the mind are not in the child 2 things. They are one thing. The child does not, on entering the world, have to invent a connection between her body and her mind. The connection is already there. It is, in fact, the child. The child is the connection, or more accurately, the child is, and the connecting is what you do later when you have forgotten." He had laughed. He had patted her head. He had said with affection, "Daughter, you have a poet's mind. You should write." She had not written. She had become a midwife. They had not, in their long lives, discussed the question again. He had assumed she had outgrown her early position. She had not. She had simply ceased to argue with him. She loved him. He was wrong. Both of these were true. She did not need to make him agree with her. He published his 6th book at 71. It was, the reviewers said, the masterwork of his life. The book argued in its final chapter that the two worlds, the world of mind and the world of matter, could be reconciled only through a postulated third thing, which he called the mediator. The mediator was, in his book, a logical construction. It had no body. It had no location. It was the answer to the puzzle of how mind and matter communicated. It was elegant. It was, his reviewers said, the necessary final piece of his thought. He fell ill at 73 with a long illness. He spent the last 6 months of his illness in a small bedroom in his country house. His daughter, who was by then 50, came to stay with him. She brought her midwife's knowledge of the dying, for she had, in her practice, attended also to deaths, when the dying were the mothers of the children she had delivered. She knew how to sit with the dying. She sat with her father. He did not at first speak of his work. He spoke of small things, the garden, the birds, the food he could no longer eat, his daughter's children whom he had loved and who were now grown. In the last month he began to dream. He dreamed every night of one world. He could not in his dreams find the two worlds he had argued for. He could only find one. The mind and the matter, in his dreams, were not separate. They were somehow 2 ways of looking at the same single thing. The mediator he had postulated in his book did not appear in the dreams. The mediator was not needed, because the gap the mediator had been supposed to bridge was not, in fact, in his dreams, a gap. The world was, in the dreams, whole. He woke from these dreams each morning troubled. He had spent 50 years arguing the world was 2. In the last week of his life, he asked his daughter to sit beside him. She sat beside him. He said with great difficulty, "Daughter, yes, father, I have been dreaming. Yes, in the dreams there is only one world." She was silent. "I have been wrong," he said. "I have spent my life on the wrong question. The mediator I postulated does not exist. The mediator was a way of avoiding the truth, which was that there was nothing to mediate. The mind and the matter were one all along. The two worlds were a description, not a reality. You said this when you were 15. I did not listen. I am now listening. I have been wrong for 55 years. She held his hand. You were right, he said. I have come at the end to where you began. I am sorry it has taken me so long. I am sorry that my 6 books are wrong. I am sorry that I have taught 3 universities of young men to repeat my wrongness. You were not wrong, father, he looked at her. You were the inside of the one world, she said. I was the outside. You were the mind looking at matter, trying to understand it. I was the body delivering bodies, knowing what was going on without needing to understand it. We were both right. We were both seeing the same one world from the 2 sides. Your books were not, in fact, wrong. Your books were the long, careful description of the world as it looks from the inside, when the inside has lost touch with the outside. The losing of touch was a real thing. Many people have lost touch in the same way you did. Your books described their condition. Your books were maps for them. The maps were accurate maps of the losing. The maps were not, however, maps of the world. The world is one. The maps were of the not knowing it. He wept. He had not, in 73 years, been told this. He died 2 days later in his sleep. She was beside him. His last words, very quietly in the night before he died, had been, "You were right." Her first words after he had gone were, "We were both right. You were the inside, I was the outside. The one world is what we were both inside of and outside of at the same time all along." She buried him in the country churchyard beside her mother. She returned to her practice. She delivered, in her remaining years, perhaps 400 more children. She also sat with perhaps 200 more deaths. She did not ever write a book. She did not ever correct her father's books, which continued in 3 universities to be taught. In her own old age, when one of her grandsons, who had become a young philosopher, asked her about her father's work, she said, "Your great-grandfather was a great man. His books are very long. The truth is in them, in a hidden place. The truth is that there is one world. The hiding of the truth in his books is the journey. He found at the end what he had been looking for. He found it in his bedroom, in his dreams, in the last week of his life. He found it because the dying lets the world become whole again. It is a hard way to find it. There are easier ways. Most people, however, are too busy to find it before they are dying. We were lucky he found it at all." The grandson nodded. He went eventually to one of the universities where his great-grandfather's books were taught. He did not, however, become a philosopher. He became a midwife also, like his grandmother. He delivered children. He sat with the dying. He had understood, somehow, that the one world was a thing to be lived in, not argued about. The 2 worlds were one world. The mind and the matter were one thing, seen from 2 sides. The mediator you postulated does not exist. The gap was never there. The dying lets the world become whole. Again, most do not find it until then. The midwife knows it from the beginning. The philosopher knows it. At the end, they were both right. The world is one. The not knowing it is the long detour.